All right, good morning, my friends. Super excited to see everybody on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm going to try to keep it under 2 to 3 hours, so we won't be here all that long. Ideally, it should be less than an hour. At the end, any questions you guys have, please ask. I don't want you leaving here feeling like you didn't understand it. We will be in contact via email extensively throughout the next 6 weeks, but I always recommend that men and women come to this because you can have your questions answered in person rather than via email and all those different things. So the way I present is I'm going to go through all the information, but if you have questions, if you don't understand it, please put a hand up. Ask me as we go. That way I can answer your question in real time. No, you don't have to wait to the end to try to remember it. Devin walking yet? No? Jamie, did you see what happened at the police station?
No, what happened?
Yeah, a couple nights ago somebody broke in.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they stole all the toilets. Cops got nothing to go on. So if it starts to get a little dry, I'll throw a joke in there and make you guys laugh or try to make you laugh. 2 to 3 times a year, we run these nutrition challenges, right? So you guys know that Jennifer and I, we run this facility, and it's a gym, right? The underlying theme that we try to help men and women really understand is that, yes, the exercise is crucial, it's important, but the nutrition, the sleep, the things you do outside of the gym have such a massive, massive impact that we try to get some momentum and get everybody back on the tracks to help men and women kind of figure out a simpler way to get things done. So we're rolling into our Winter Spring 2020 Nutrition Challenge. I'd like to start off and always say, why? Why would we do this, right? And there's all different reasons. Everybody could have different ones, but we think of health, right? If I drop 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, I'm probably going to be a little bit healthier. My energy levels will probably be higher. My longevity, my self-esteem, and then of course there's always prizes, right? You can win a free gym membership, chiropractic care, massage, all these great things. Everybody sitting here probably has one or if not multiple of those reasons in their head why they want to do it. Keep that in mind, not just today, but in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 5 weeks, because it will be challenging, right? We call it a challenge for a reason, right? It is challenging. You're going to have to maybe forego some things and change some different things, but kick it back to why you're doing this. That helps, right? So important dates to know. The weigh-ins are going to kick off Monday and Tuesday. If we have anybody traveling, any kind of extenuating circumstances, we'll allow them to go to Wednesday. But you will need to get an in-body in no later than Wednesday. Jamie, would you be kind enough to grab 2 chairs for my friends there? Thank you. If you guys are not familiar, the in-body is what we're going to use as our metric to track along the way. All right, so the majority of you guys have probably done an in-body. If you haven't, it gives you a very nice breakdown of not only how much you weigh, but what is that composed of? How much skeletal muscle mass am I carrying? How much body fat mass am I carrying? The goal over the 6 weeks is to reduce body fat mass and to maintain or if not improve skeletal muscle mass. Any questions thus far? Nothing? Anne-Marie, anything? Nick?
Is there a good time to do the in-body?
Great question, right? I asked for, looking for a good question, I got a great question. The best time to do the in-body, honestly, is whatever's going to be the most consistent for you, right? So what we wouldn't want is Nick to come in tomorrow morning at 4:45 a.m. and do it and maybe in a little bit of a fasted state, and then 6 weeks later come in on a Friday after a long week, after having happy hour, and hopefully we're not going to do that during the 6-week challenge. But we wouldn't want to do it after having a full day of eating. We want to try to eliminate any variables that we can. So to answer your question, the best time to do it is whatever time will allow you to do it at that same time again and again each week. You only need to do 3. The beginning, the midway, and the final. You are encouraged to do them weekly, right? I bought extra papers, come in and I made some extra photocopies, use them up, use up the paper. You do need to do the first one, you do need to do a midway, and you do need to do a final one, because if you don't, then we don't have anything measured to go off of. You are encouraged to do it more often than that. I'm a big believer, Jennifer and I were just talking about today while we were driving in the car, of blocking things off, making them as appointments. So everybody in this room, I'm going to go out on a limb, probably has a phone, probably a smartphone, that you can go into Google Calendar, whatever you want, and say, hey, look, every Monday, I'm going to do my in-body. Boom, 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 so you can watch, you can track it. Great question, thank you, Nick. Right? The midway points, we're starting Monday, we're starting tomorrow. and then we're gonna end in the first week of April, right? So we're running for 6 weeks. This is really, really nice because I know a lot of men and women are maybe just coming back from a trip, and I know there's a lot of men and women that have a trip coming up in 5 or 6 weeks, so you got a little built-in motivation on either way. Maybe your nutrition's been off for a little bit, maybe you've got something, destination coming up in 5 or 6 weeks, and you'd like to really clean things up before that. Any questions? Dana, anything? Good so far? Something else Jennifer and I have been talking a lot about are the benefits of eating dried grapes. It's really about raising awareness. They'll get better. They'll get better, I promise. All right. So we discussed when we're going to do this, right? The goal, again, is to decrease excess body fat and maintain or improve skeletal muscle mass. Okay, that's great, John, but how? How do we do that, right? I started off by saying that we do 2 to 3 of these a year. We've done lots of different ways. Anne-Marie's been with this. Anne-Marie, we've done them what? Paleo. We've done them with macros. We've done a whole bunch of different ways to do it. The simplest way that we've seen that is the most effective tends to be this tray method. I'd like to say good artists borrow, great artists steal. So I studied another gym in New England that's done a really, really good job of running these challenges. What they understand is that most men and women don't like to break out a scale in the kitchen. Hannah, are you super excited to weigh out 6 ounces of chicken breasts? And you're just like, this is so fun. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh out 6 ounces of potatoes. This is like the highlight of my day, right? It's boring. Nobody really likes that. You're probably better use of your time. But we still have to understand the idea that if we don't pay attention to how much we eat and what we eat, then we're going to have a really hard time getting to where we want to go. So how can we have men and women, including myself, weigh and measure their food quickly, easily, and in a sustainable way? And that's where the trays came in, right? So there are 3 compartment trays. There's a large compartment, and then 2 that are smaller. Last year we were able to get a bunch from WB Mason. They were not able to, so I don't have a ton to give away. They're on Amazon. You can get 21 of them for like $12, and Amazon Prime, you can have it by tomorrow. You have it by Tuesday at the latest. But it looks just like this, right? So the big piece of it is vegetables. Any vegetable you want to put in there. Preference on green leafy vegetables, but anything you want to go in the large portion. Jane, we'll go with the large portion.
Green leafy vegetables.
Love it. What if you wanted to have carrots? Could you have carrots?
You could
Yeah,
have
you could,
carrots,
but
but
we prefer green.
prefer green, yes.
Ironically, that's your last name.
Yeah, it's not easy being honest.
Next, you've got 2 smaller compartments, right? One of them is going to be lean protein. So that means that with each meal, we need to be making sure that we're having lean protein. Danny, what do you do for a living? Chef. What's an example of lean protein? Chicken. Devin, what's another one? Beef. Good answer, Devin. Right?
Fish.
I got to realize it's going to be a quiz. Fish, beef, poultry, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, whey protein as in a protein shake, right? We'll talk about that. You're not going to pour your protein shake into this. That needs to go there. There will be a lot of follow-up emails where you guys will get to see different lists of proteins, carbohydrates, and vegetables. Maybe you struggle, right? I don't want to assume that everybody sitting in this room right now knows the difference between protein, carbohydrate, vegetables, all those, and fats, right? So I'm not going to do that, and I'll supply you guys with that information. The other smaller one is going to be a moderate amount of carbohydrate or starch. Dana, give me an example of one. Sweet potato. I love it. Jennifer, what are you feeding Benjamin back there?
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato, right? Probably a little bit smaller than this, but we would fill that up. What are we noticing in absence of if we have vegetables, lean protein, and moderate starch? Fat, and another one. Sugar, right? So a lot of times, men and women inadvertently are going to be very, very high in the sugar intake, right? Just because they're not being consciously aware of it, they're not paying attention to it. Bless you. It will be difficult to have a high, not impossible, but it'll be difficult to have a high amount of sugar if you are following this within 90%, right? One of my favorite sayings is that we're looking for progress, not perfection. So don't freak out and say, John, one of the days was off a little bit. Any questions thus far on how the trays go?
John, the old tray that I have, I think the protein and the carbs are equal.
They are.
Size.
That's why I'm not giving these ones out. These ones are slightly different.
So
and
should
that's
I
correct.
use
Nope.
the-
Yep. And well, that's a great question, right? Well, it's a great point. So what Julie was saying is she has some of the trays that we gave out last time, and it's I guess we would say, I don't know, one large compartment and then 2 equal smaller compartments. That's ideal. Anybody here think for the next 3, 4, 6 months, maybe 2, 3 years from now, you're going to go to a restaurant and break out your tray and put it on the table? Jennifer, where did we go last night? We went out to dinner. We had an amazing dinner, right? What was the base of both of our meals? A protein, right? I didn't hear what did you say?
Potatoes.
No, I heard broccoli. I had broccoli. I knew I was doing the presentation this morning, so I had to make sure I had broccoli on my plate. But spinach. Good answer. Good comeback, right? Good recovery. No one in this room is going to be eating out of a tray for the next 6 months, 6 years. That's not the goal, right? The goal is to help you start building better habits, which means, hey, if I use this tray for 6 weeks as a spark, as a catalyst, as a way to start to understand that I would like my meals to have a base of some vegetables, a lean protein, and moderate amount of starch, that can be with you for the next 6 months, 6 years, 16 years. Anybody that I've sat down with in the last 6 months has heard me say that. Stephen, have you heard me say something along those lines? Right? I'm trying to help you develop habits that 16 years down the road from now, when you're going to have lunch, you start with some form of protein, you build a vegetable around it. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, what about like for snacks and stuff?
Great question. So, for snacks, I would tell you, let's keep it vegetables, right? You have unlimited vegetables. So, I keep going to my lovely wife there. Jennifer, what's your go-to for a snack?
Snap peas.
Man, what if you hate snap peas? What about bell peppers, right? We want to think of things that are nutrient dense, aka good for us, and low calorically, right? So we wouldn't want to be, hey, Lexi, I think you should snack on avocados. Avocados, they're great for you, but they're high in fat. So if you're eating avocados like they're apples, probably not the best thing that we can do, right? Another thing you could do, wait a second, one big thing I didn't chat about yet was, well, how many trays are we supposed to have? Danny's going to leave here and say, the tray method's awesome. I had 16 trays today. I'm doing great. And then Dana's going to leave and say, I had 1 tray today. I'm really hungry. Wait a second. Might want to tell you how many trays you should probably have. Right? We do make it pretty simple to understand because we know the more complicated we make it, the less likely you are to do it, the less likely you are to have good results. So we just draw a really clear line in the sand. If you weigh 185 or below, aim for 3 trays. If you are north of 185, 4 trays. So going back to Lexi's question, Lexi says, well, what about snacks? What if maybe you had your protein and you didn't have it with the meal, right? So maybe you had a tray made and you had your vegetables and you had some starch, but you left the protein as a Greek yogurt, right? I know you're working with Jennifer, and the recommendation we like to make is Greek yogurt. So you could have what would have been part of that meal as a snack later on. Does that make sense? What we don't want to do is start adding a lot of additional things above and beyond it, right? Because what this does, I don't care what nutrition program you follow, keto, paleo, zone, Weight Watchers, Beachbody, Atkins, whatever it is, it only works if there's a caloric deficit. It's hard science, right? You cannot reduce the mass that is there by having a surplus of calories. You have to bring it down, right? So what this does, eloquently, really nice, really simply, is it starts to help us understand how to calorically restrict, right? If we're trying to reduce excess, we have to be in a deficit with our calories. And that kind of went off a little bit in the weeds on the science side. But for snacks, if you know, hey, one of my favorite go-to is a protein, maybe forego eating that with the tray and hold on to it for a little bit later, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is what I like, guys. This is why I love the men and women that come to this, because I can answer your questions in person in real time. So going back to that. North of 185, 4 trays. Below 185, 3 trays. Super, super simple to understand. It takes 2 seconds. Fill that with vegetables. Fill this with any form of protein you want. Try to keep it lean protein and a carbohydrate or starch, right? Preferably we like brown rice, we like sweet potatoes, but because it's going to be such a small serving size, if you wanted to have a little bit of pasta, I would be okay with that. The issue falls when our plate looks like this much pasta and there's no vegetable and there's no protein, and then that's dinner again the next night and that's also lunch the next night, right? So just by following this, right? This plan doesn't work very well for you if you're already washing your clothes and your abdominals, right? If you're sub 10% body fat, this is not the best program for you. We need to dial you in much more refined. If you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, go up as high as you want, pounds that you would like to reduce, this will work really well. It's very simple to understand. Vegetable, protein, carbohydrate. Questions so far?
What about fruit?
Perfect. Great questions. Right? So fruit will go into your carbohydrate piece. Great question. Judy, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Yes, sir.
The protein, if you have protein in the meal,
Yep.
and you take a protein drink, does that count as the number 4 tray?
So, the two places that I will allow excess, right? Protein and vegetable, right? I don't want you guys going overboard in carbohydrate. So if you were to say, hey, I want to have a protein shake after going to the gym on top of my meals, I would be perfectly fine with that, right? Because if we think about it, a protein shake with a scoop of protein and some water is probably about 180 calories. It's probably 25 grams of protein and not much else to it. I'll take that all day long. So if you were to say, hey, I wanted to have that on top of it, I'm okay with that. What wouldn't work is say, I'm feeling extra hungry today, I got a great workout, so I'm going to have a double serving of Rickies, right? Because now the carbohydrate has gone super high. The two areas that most people struggle to get in is enough vegetables in their daily intake and protein, right? So if there was, now I'm not telling you to go and drink a protein shake every 2 hours, on the 2 hour mark, but if you were to have a protein shake on top of your trays, perfectly fine. Going back to what Judy said, well, what about some fruit? We're going to put fruit in the carbohydrate section, right? So if you like, hey, Jennifer, what did we get from my mom the other day? Blueberries, right? My mom bought 2 pounds of blueberries at Boujay's. What's that?
You didn't give me time to answer.
Sorry, I answered for you.
Potatoes, no.
Potatoes! You're supposed to know all the answers I ask you on the fly. She gave us a ton of blueberries. So you can put blueberries in there. Strawberries, right? Again, we don't want this tray to look like a fruit medley. Be like, oh, I filled the big part with banana, then I had mango, then I had pineapple. No, what did we miss? We missed protein and vegetables, right? What I'm explaining is not anything brand new. It's not. It's been around for a really long time. It's just known as moderate carbohydrate, moderate protein, a little bit lower fat, and somebody had asked, hey, I don't see fat anywhere on there. A lot of times if you have that protein, right, if Jennifer and I do a lot of ground beef, actually we get our ground beef from Nick and his girlfriend. Shameless plug, if you need grass-fed ground beef, talk to them later. That has fat in it. It already has fat in it. So I'm not looking to put a ton of additional fat on top of that. Even if I get fish, right? Salmon, there's fat in salmon, right? So I'm not looking for a lot of additional fat. Anybody know why? Calorically dense, right? So there's a reason why Lexi said for a snack, what should I have? And I said, I want something that is nutrient dense, meaning it's good for us, and not calorically dense. So we could go the route of saying, okay, if somebody came in and said, John, I'm trying to gain a lot of weight, then I would tell them, yeah, you should be having big handfuls of nuts. You should be having avocado. Because guess what? That is high fat, high calories, excessive calories sticks to you. So if somebody came in and said, hey, look, I'm really having a hard time keeping weight on, then we're going to push their fat up really high. Everybody with me so far? Nods of approval? All right.
Can we supplement at times with balanced chef meals?
Absolutely, 100%. The balanced chef meals, some of them look literally exactly to the T. I had the lemon, another shameless plug, right? Lemon rosemary chicken. It's got a big, well not big, but it's got a sizable portion of chicken, green beans, and sweet potatoes. It's literally the tray method with a balanced chef sticker on top of it. Yes.
Balanced Chef offers what they call their custom chicken tofu steak meals, and it's protein.
Salmon.
Yep, salmon. So it's broken down exactly in that, and you can choose what carb you want and what vegetable you want and how much protein. So
yeah,
that's what we order pretty often.
It's we know that for Jennifer and I, we're busy, right? If we have to prep every single meal, it's too much, right? We do our dinners and we do our breakfast. A lot of times our lunch for Jennifer and I our Balanced Chef meals, and she hit the nail on the head. You can make a custom meal that is chicken, brown rice is your carbohydrate, green beans. I hate green beans. Okay, broccoli. Okay, next week I'm tired of having that. Okay, you can have steak and sweet potatoes and something different, right? So Lexi, I like how you move to a different area so you think of somebody different.
He was being mean.
Okay.
Does the Balanced Chef meal like count as a tray then?
Yes, absolutely, right? And let's go back to a common question we'll get. Oh, we're way ahead of time too. Common question we'll get is like, John, how do I do this when I go out? I just sat down with a new member the other day and was chatting with him. When you go out to eat, it's the service industry to the T. So you say, what would you like to eat? Very simple. You say, I would like a serving of X protein, right? So start with the protein over B vegetable, and it's always going to come with some sort of starch. That's what every meal in this area comes with. So you just order what you want, be specific, tell them what you want, and you just did the tray method at a restaurant, right? We did it pretty close last night. Don't be afraid to be polite, but specific with how you want the food prepared. Again, the restaurant is a service industry. They're there to make the food the way you like it, right? If they want you to be a return customer, they're probably going to say, sure, I'd love to make that for you, right? That's the other thing is, the idea is not to have you guys say, 2027, heading off to work and I got all my trays with me, right? Maybe for lunches you do. But it's to help you start to understand that if the goal is higher energy, better health, mental clarity, maybe coming off certain medications, different things along those lines, or avoiding medications, having a large serving of vegetables, having some sort of lean protein, having some sort of starch is the roadmap to do that. It is. We've seen it. We've done it multiple times. Like I said, this is the most successful way for men and women to do it because it's so simple, right? With macros, you got to weigh and measure everything, which it works. It works. This is macros made easy, right? So if you don't know what macros is, protein, fat, and carbs, and getting down to the gram of how much you need. Questions so far?
John, if you do a Balanced Chef meal that's not a custom meal, can you assume that it's a one-serving meal of each thing, as long as it has?
The only time, if you look on them, most often, the only meals that Balanced Chef has that are not necessarily one would be like their bone proteins.
Yep.
Or like if you were to get the chicken wing dip, it says right
Yeah.
on it would be two.
Yep.
Yeah.
But most often they're one.
And not to get crazy on the calorie counting or anything along those lines, but if we think about it, we go back to how many trays per person, right? So when you guys do your InBodies, one of the first videos, hopefully you guys like the sound of my voice because you're going to be getting lots of videos of me chatting about everything and everything. One of the numbers on there tells you your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. How many calories do you need at a resting rate, right? So if we think about it, and I say, okay, you're north of 185, I'm having you have 4 of these trays. I would tell you an average tray is probably going to be around 400 calories, maybe 300, 350, 400. Okay, so 4 times 4, that's 1,600, right? I'm sorry. Yes. So if they're 400 per tray, it's going to put you around 1,600, which if we're at 185 is going to start bringing us down. Obviously, if we're under 185, well under 185, 1,600 calories actually may be more than we need, which is why we're going to bring it down to around 12. You can fine-tune that down to whatever you want, but if you are off the rails a little bit, just getting in the right direction is going to help you immensely, right? All right. Tray method on the go. John, I travel a lot. I eat out a lot. We just touched on that. I like going out to eat because I can sit there and ask somebody to prep the food the way I want to. I don't have to do any dishes. I don't have to worry about me not being the best chef, the best cook. And I just start by building it off of, okay, where's the protein? Where's the vegetable? Where's the moderate starch? Anything behind that? I'll send a link out on Amazon. Again, a 21 pack of those is like, I don't even think it's $15.99. I think it's like $12, right? They are dishwasher safe. They work really, really well. We were listening to something as we were driving today, and the woman said she said for her, there's like no better feeling than knowing Sunday night that her meals are ready to go for the rest of the week. It's off her, it's done, it's off her to-do list. She knows that she has meals ready to go.
It looks pretty.
It's like Christmas.
It's like Christmas every Sunday,
It is.
right? let's go and say, Jennifer, what do you like to do for breakfast? Do you do a tray for breakfast?
No.
No. What do you do normally, most days?
I have a shake that it's a green V8 juice. So many of you have already heard me say this a million times. So it's green V8 juice and my protein that I put in it.
And then sometimes you have a small bowl of rhymes with smoke meal.
Or my other go-to is egg whites in oatmeal, and I take oatmeal and mix a little bit of unsweetened applesauce in it.
Right?
That's
So, if we were to take Jennifer's protein drink and dump it into here, could we see where they would fall? Right? The V8's green drink is the vegetable. The protein powder is this, and then if she's having some oatmeal, there you go, right? So we can see it doesn't always necessarily have to be the tray, because over time it's not going to be the tray, right? The tray just helps us start and understand and eyeball and see that each meal has these same key components. So don't be worried that you're like, well, John, I have a good, you don't have to change everything and be like, well, I have a good breakfast, right? Maybe Erin's having eggs and she's having some spinach mixed in and she's having a little bit of oatmeal. Great. You don't have to change it if it doesn't need to be changed. But if it's not, the gentleman I just spoke with the other day, his go-to every single day is like 2 cups of oatmeal. So essentially we can see how that's kind of not helping him get where he wants to go. He has no protein, no vegetable, and a double serving of carbohydrate. That's a recipe over time, over weeks, months, and years for excessive, probably caloric intake, being low in protein and not getting to where we want to be.
Can you use whole eggs?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, perfectly fine with that. And again, once you get to, I tell people, so if you've never done an in-body, the A+ honor roll, where you want to be, the dean's list, the top of the podium, is in the upper right-hand corner, 0.0, 0.0. What that means is that your body fat mass, the amount of body fat you carry, is in a healthy, acceptable range for your age and gender, right? I'm not going to compare a 21-year-old male to a 68-year-old female, right? Different ages, different genders, the amount of body fat they should be carrying is different, right? So you have a unique number when you guys do your in-body. The goal is to get those to 0.0, 0.0. Once you get really close to that, then yes, we could really do some fine-tuning and say, all right, maybe now we want to go to egg whites. Maybe now we want to slightly reduce carbohydrate or maybe even increase the fat intake. But for a starting point, that has worked phenomenally well just because of the simplicity of it, right? What other questions so far? Yes, Julie.
In the past, I've lost the fat, but never gained muscle. I don't gain muscle.
Great. So let's chat about that. We'll shift gears. So we chatted a lot about nutrition. This is a big one that men and women struggle with, right? Is sleep. The only time your body gets to repair muscle is when you sleep, right? And everybody sitting in this room has a different lifestyle, different things going on. Kids, grandkids, 1 job, 2 jobs, 5 jobs, retired. Everybody's got a different scenario. I don't care. Sleep is still massively important. It is. It is so important for your energy, for your mood, for your ability to adhere to the tray method, right? I'll tell you, there's nights when the sleep is not that great that you're going to want to take the tray method and throw out the window and just have endless IHOP pancakes. That's not going to help you. It's not. So, what can you do to stack the deck for your sleep? And this, I could talk easily for the next 90 minutes on. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, right? The phone. We'll start there. The phone is the anti-sleep machine. I'll say it again. The phone is the anti-sleep machine. If your palms get sweaty about thinking about the phone being out of your arm's reach when you're asleep, that might be a problem. Probably a huge problem, right? We laugh, but think about it. There are men and women that get paid $100,000 a year in California that work for Facebook, Gmail, Google, Instagram. Their whole career, their livelihood, how they put food on the table is to make sure that phone stays in your hand longer. That's their job. They get paid great money to do it. So all right, so let's run the scenario. Hey, I've had a long day, I'm tired, I want to fall asleep. I'm in bed, I'm restless, but I can't fall asleep. So bam, I grab the anti-sleep machine. I'm just going to check email for 1 second. Okay, there's the email. Well, I got this shiny thing that's stimulating my brain like no tomorrow. So you know what? I'll hop on social media for a second. Oh, there's a funny cat video. Hey, you know what? I'm going to jump back on. I'm going to check my work email now. Oh, there's a project for tomorrow. Your brain is just firing and firing and firing. The colors, the noises, the notifications. It's all the anti-sleep machine. So I don't care, if you take anything from today, I would encourage you guys always to distance that thing from your bed, right? My go-to is put it outside of the room, so when you use it for your alarm, you have to get up and physically walk to it. That is something that I've done for the last couple of years, and I love it. It makes life really, really nice. So the phone is the anti-sleep machine. We'll get off that for a second. Television, if you have it in your bedroom, and I'm not going to tell you to go home and like unbolt it off the wall and but again, stimulation, light. Actually, let's dial back for a second. We'll do a little bit of science. There are two things that will help you get a good night's sleep. One is called sleep pressure, the amount of time that you had since the last time you had deep sleep, right? So if today it's sunny and you go take a really hard nap at like 5, 6 o'clock, you're probably going to have a hard time falling asleep at 7, 8, 9 o'clock, right? So you have to have sleep pressure over time. You have to have a duration of time. Benjamin, trying to speak. You need to have a duration of time. I know. You need to have a long duration of time to force the body to build up sleep pressure, right? And everybody knows what that is. Hey, it's been a really, really long day. Like I can't even keep my eyes open. There's a lot of sleep pressure. The other one is the natural release of melatonin, right? You can go buy melatonin, but I don't like sending men and women to the drugstore to go buy melatonin when your body can already naturally produce it, right? If we're coming to the point in our life where maybe it isn't producing it, then okay, go look at it. But if we are, below 65, your body naturally produces it. Two things that'll allow your body to trigger your body to produce melatonin is number one, decrease in lights, right? So if I never get away from artificial light ever, my body doesn't release it. Number two is a decrease in temperature, right? What does it normally do at the end of the day? The temperature drops, right? So the sun sets, there's less light, and there's less temperature. Modern creature comfort, we can have the heat up as high as we want, we can have the lights as bright as we want all day long. And then we like to work, we like to entertain ourselves, so we can see how we get into these patterns of really, really, really poor sleep. And then you get poor sleep, and the next morning you're like, I didn't sleep really well, so now I just want to eat everything that's in front of me, and I can't make good food choices. And it's just a negative, and you're like, I missed my chance to go to the gym. So it's just this nasty, never-ending cycle of I got a bad night's sleep, I made poor food choices, I didn't get a chance to exercise or go to the gym. So my two things with that are A, as you know what time you are going to bed, right? If you don't, set a bed no later than time, right? I want to physically be in bed no later than 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 8:30, whatever time it is for you. 30 minutes prior to that, an hour prior to that, start bringing the lights down, right? Start telling your body, hey, right? There's a perfect example. For some crazy reason, once we become adults, we forget what it was like to try to put a child to bed. It'd be asinine if we're like, I'm trying to get Benjamin to go to bed, so let's crank all the lights, let's get all his toys, and let's just jazz him the hell up. But as adults, we're like, hey, I'm trying to go to bed, let me hold this thing 1 inch from my face and talk to all my relatives across the country and check 16 different platforms for work and then wonder why I can't fall asleep. So, still recording, I think. That's a great part. Good job, we're getting to see up your nostrils. But you can see where I'm going with that, right? But a lot of it is breaking habits, right? This whole, we could call it a 6-week habit, habit building to habit deconstruction. In order to break bad habits, you have to make it more difficult to do. So if you don't want to be on the phone all night, and I'm not saying that you are, distance yourself from the phone. Another one with the phone is, I tell people this all the time, turn the notifications off other than the phone ringing, right? If there is an emergency, somebody will call you. Jamie, if you're driving by this building and you saw flames shooting out there, would you text me? Hopefully not. Hopefully you call me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely give you a call.
A call.
Let you know.
A call, right? A call is good. So I always tell everybody, ditch all the notifications, especially the ones that you don't need. Like somebody liked a picture on Facebook and your phone dings. No, ditch that stuff, right? So that makes sleep a little bit better. Any questions on sleep? I go another 2 hours on it. I love talking about sleep. Nothing? Jen, let's know about our temperature experiment.
Alright, do you want me to or you want to?
You go ahead, tell them.
So, in the first few months of Benjamin being in his own room, I woke up one night freezing cold to take care of him because he started crying, and I thought it was maybe me. And I looked at our temperature, and it was 58 degrees in the house. So I instantly was like, what the hell? 'Cause I didn't do that. But moving forward, he didn't really wake up that much. We weren't waking up so much. We were sleeping very, very well. So I had to take
So I'll give you a little background of the story, all right?
take my anger back.
Doing a little research, a little studying. There was a lot of things saying if you drop the temperature a couple degrees, your sleep will be better. So we keep the house between 66 and 67, maybe 68 during the day, and then at night I wanted to start dropping it. So each night I was dropping it 2 or 3 degrees to see how long it would be before Jennifer picked up on it. So we went like 67, 65, 64, 63. We got to 58. And I asked her, I said, okay, I understand you're a little pissed. I said, but with that aside, do you feel like that you're sleeping better and he's sleeping better? And she said, yes, absolutely. So one of the things we do, and you're like, oh, it's going to be so cold. You'll be sound asleep before you even realize it. And then one of the first things we do when we wake up is I walk by and turn it back up. By the time we're going, so it works. It works really, really well. I would rather wake up and have to pull the blankets up a little bit tighter than wake up and have my palms and feel like I just ran the Boilermaker, right? So if you're constantly waking up just feeling like you're sweating just all the time, try it. It doesn't cost you anything. If anything, it's going to save you a couple bucks, right? So bring the temperature down. If you live with other people that maybe aren't as receptive to crazy science experiments, I don't know. Good luck.
I just tell them to live with it.
Yeah. Anything on nutrition so far? Yes, ma'am.
In terms of the food choices
Yep.
for age and gender, if you're above 55, should your foods be changed?
I would say no. So Lisa had a great question was, would I change the food recommendations based on age and gender? Not really. Was that I cut you off a little bit?
No, because like some, you know,
Yeah.
talk about certain foods increase metabolism,
Yeah.
especially for women and hormones.
Honestly, no. I think high quality foods across the board are high quality foods, right? Minimally processed, vegetables, lean proteins from the cleanest places you can get them, right? Anything that you can buy local is always, you know, at least in my opinion, is better than something that's coming from a farm from across the country that I don't know anything about. But a great example of that is Jennifer and I eat pretty much the same foods. We eat a lot of the same foods, but my serving sizes are usually 1.5 to 2 times what Jennifer's are. So we'll cook a lot of the same things, but her plate will be like this, and my plate will be 1.5 to 2 times size, or 2 times larger. A lot of the same foods, but the amounts are different, right? So no, I wouldn't really necessarily make a suggestion on different foods based on age. I would say with any of the foods, if you're going to introduce new foods, just make sure that they don't disagree with you, right? So a lot of times men and women will ask, like, what's my opinion on dairy? We eat a fair amount of cheese. We don't eat an unbelievable amount of cheese, but we eat a fair amount of cheese, and both of us can tolerate it. And one of the ways that you can tell that is you have to forego it for 2 weeks, and then you bring it back in, right? So if you're going to say, hey, I want to see if eggs bother me, well, go 2 weeks, do no eggs, and then have a meal that's predominantly make a big omelet, and see, okay, don't feel any different, right? Easy way to tell with that, well, leave that one alone. So let's look at the exercise piece of it, right? Yes, ma'am.
One question about like oils.
Yep.
Like what do you cook with? Like butter, olive oil? I know it was on that.
So we cook with a small amount of butter, right? And you know, condiments, actually I didn't even touch it. That's actually a huge one I left off, right? We'll go back to beverages. So seasoning and condiments and things along those lines. So when we cook, I use a little bit of butter, right? Not 5 tablespoons of butter and then drowning it in olive oil, because again, remembering that butter and olive oil are fats, and right, healthy fats are healthy. But if I were to sit there and drink olive oil like I was drinking water, I'd be 380 pounds, right? So we do have to be aware that just because it is healthy, it still has calories in it, right? So let's go back to beverages. This is one that I always like to hammer on. Aaron, in the medical field, right? If I were 95 years old and very malnourished, what would they hook up to me and just start pumping into me? Yeah, they pump in what type of form? Liquid or solid? Liquid, right? So what I'm getting at is when men and women are trying to gain weight, the fastest way to gain weight, if I had a high school football player who weighed 110 pounds, I'd tell him to drink chocolate milk like it was going out of style. Because you can drink calories way faster than you can eat calories. Now, when we're trying to go the other way, we have to be careful and cognizant that we're not doing that we're not drinking 800 calories a day and not even realizing it, right? So the two big culprits for that, I love coffee. You guys know me, I drink coffee a lot, but it's black coffee. I haven't put anything in my coffee since I started drinking it. Very easily, if I were drinking the amount of coffee that I drink and putting 1 scoop of sugar, 2 scoops of sugar, I'd be at like 800 calories of sugar water a day, right? Soda, Gatorade. Somebody had a Gatorade the other day and I was looking at it. It's like 240 calories, is like 32, 35 grams of sugar. Now you think, okay, maybe I have 2 of those a day. That's 500 calories. That's a tray. You just drank a tray of sugar. So we can start to see how 400 calories of good nutrient-dense food takes to eat a tray, to eat one of these, probably takes you 5 to 10 minutes. If you said, hey, drink this, I'll give you $5 if you can drink that Gatorade in 1 drink, you do it in a second, right? So we see how easily, how quickly we can be adding extra calories into our day, not even thinking about it. Just like, oh, I'm just drinking this Gatorade, I'm just drinking the soda, right? Same thing with soda. You've got, and I don't want to go deep into but what about the ones that are zero, Pepsi Zero and stuff like that? If you can get away from it, get away from it the best you can. My go-tos, water. If you like coffee, try to get yourself as close to black coffee as you can. I know some people look at me like I just spit on them. I promise, I say this all the time, I've never gone to anybody's calling hours or funeral for drinking black coffee. I get a lot of people that don't like me because they say they should drink black coffee, but that's okay. Water, black coffee, tea, and progress. Yes, ma'am. I love your willingness to ask questions.
I was gonna ask what about tea?
What about tea? I'm okay with that.
Alright.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
I put honey in it. Is that not okay?
I'm okay with it. Let's just think though. Let's remember again, honey's okay, but if you're having 4 or 5 cups of tea and each one's accompanied with a spoon of honey, that's a lot of sugar, right? I like honey, but I have it sparingly from time to time. So I would tell you maybe try to reduce the amount of honey in it, but I would rather you say, hey, look, John, I'm drinking a little bit of tea with a little bit of honey in it here once in a while, than seeing you come in with a big soda. That make sense?
How do you gauge your fat intake for the day?
Wouldn't even worry about it. You could. So using this, your fat intake would probably be realistically probably under 50 grams. If you were to do 3 trays and to follow that to 90% adherence, you'd probably be well under 50 grams. If you really wanted to get deep into the weeds, you could use MyFitnessPal and see exactly what it is. If you are a numerical freak, if you are data-driven and you just love that stuff, which some people do, you could go home and say, okay, I'm going to make my perfect tray for lunch, and then I'm going to plug it into MyFitnessPal, and I'm going to look and see exactly, maybe I'm going to weigh and measure out 1 tray and see exactly what it is, and then duplicate, right? Men and women that tend to do very well in things find what works for them, and they hammer the shit out of it. They just say, okay, this works really, really well, I'm just going to keep hammering it and hammering it and hammering it. Generally, men and women that struggle with stuff are this way, that way, this way, that way, and they're just not doing it consistently enough, right? So you could be very, very precise with your fat intake over the day using MyFitnessPal. I would tell you just knowing this, each meal for 3 is probably, each of you would say, okay, how much fat's going to be in each one? Roughly, I'd probably tell you 20 to 25, or probably not even. Depending, but a lot of that variance is going to be what you choose for your protein, right?
I'm talking about added fat.
Added fat?
Like olive oil, butter, those kind of things.
I would try to keep it again under, for the day, I would try to keep it under additional fat, 20 grams, only because fat is so calorically dense, right? It adds calories very, very fast. Great question. I think I saw another hand shoot up. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question going back to the protein shakes.
Yep.
In the past, I've done 3 meals and then
2 shakes.
2 shakes.
Yep.
Should I not be doing that? Is that, unless I feel like I'm hungry or I need that?
I would tell you if you feel that you're hungry, protein and vegetables, right? I'm a big believer in your body does a great job of telling you when to use the restroom, and you go use the restroom. Your body does a good job telling you when you're tired, and you go to sleep. If we start eating less processed foods, our body starts to give us a really good idea of, hey, when I'm full and when I'm not full, right? It's a term of satiation. Am I satiated? Processed foods are horrible. They actually circumvent that process, right? Here's an easy example. I don't even like Oreos. I don't like Oreos. But if somebody brought them up and put them up here and said, hey, John, try one of these, I'd probably have 7. I'd probably have 12, right? High sugar, processed, they circumvent, making me feel full. If somebody brought in, I like asparagus, grilled, seasoned perfection, and said, John, I bet you can't eat 2 pounds of asparagus, I would struggle to do that. It fills you up in a different way. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at you answering Aaron's question. Listen to your body. If you shouldn't feel like you're force feeding yourself by any means. And if you're having, again, 3 to 4 of those trays, some of you may say, holy shit, this feels like I'm eating a lot. It feels like I'm eating a lot. If you're eating a lot of the right foods, it'll still work. The amount of men and women that have said, John, I feel like I'm eating, Aaron, when we first showed you that program and said do this, this, and this, did you think it was a lot of food?
Yeah, but the first week I was eating so many carbs before
Yep.
I was actually hungrier.
Yeah.
It took about 2 weeks, and then it was too much food, I felt like.
Yeah.
I was full all of a sudden. Everything was straightened itself out.
And then where did the weight end up going from when you started to now?
I'm down probably about 40 pounds of that.
Right? So looking at it and saying, holy shit, I feel like this is a ton of food. Do your best, right? None of this. I am not perfect. No, it doesn't exist. Perfection does not exist, right? Everybody in this room is starting at a little bit different point. Your goal is to look for perfection. Try again. Your goal is to look for progress. Your goal is to look for progress, right? Perfection does not exist. So if you say, hey, today I had 3 trays and a protein shake and I feel good, done. That's it, right? If you feel hungry and you say, hey, it's the end of the day and I've had 3 trays of protein shake and I'm feeling kind of hungry, go to what's the best thing you can do, right? What's the best thing that you can do? Moving on, a couple things that way. We do have some time for questions in the back end. You guys will be getting videos from me, and I try to keep them under 2 minutes, and I try to keep the frequency very high, right? Sometimes every day, sometimes every other day, so you're getting things on sleep. I try to give you actionable things that you can do. Actually, let's touch on exercise. It does not have to be inside these 4 walls. Obviously, I think we run an amazing facility, and we've got programs for lots of different men and women. But hey, the sun's out today. You go for a 3 or 4 mile walk. You go snowshoeing. Hey, as we roll into spring, you go for a run. Maybe you have a membership up at the casino. You go swim. You're a member of NVCC. You swim over there. You do something outside of here. That's fine. But the goal is to be moving, right? It says exercise, but the goal is to be moving 4 to 5 days a week, right? That to me is ideal. Does anybody need to be going 6, 7 days a week? No, I think this is a little bit much. I think 3 and under 3, we're starting to probably be a little bit less than what we need to. Some of us may have jobs that are heavy in manual labor that falls into. But again, the big things to work on for the vast majority of us are that nutrition and the sleep. I tell people all the time, if we did this 6 years ago, Emery, when we first did our first ones, how much emphasis did I put on sleep? I talked about it, but not as much and not with as much enthusiasm and passion as I do now, because it is massively important. Massively important. I tell people all the time, if you crush the nutrition, but your sleep is abysmal, 3-4 hours at best, or 6 hours and it's sketchy, it's like trying to run the Boilermaker with cinder blocks around your feet. So take the little steps to try to make it better, right? For about 3 months, I did a little project with myself where I would give myself a letter grade, like back in school. How was my sleep the night prior? And I would base it on how long did I sleep? How did I feel when I woke up? Did I feel well rested? Did I feel like I could take the day on? Did my body feel recovered? I would write down things like, what's the last thing I did? Did I stretch? Did I read? Did I pray? Did I do these different things at night? Did I meditate? Did I do nothing? Did I just come home from work and jump into bed? Because then I could start to say, okay, on all the days I'm giving myself an A+, I'm doing these couple different things. And these few days where the sleep is horrible, I'm doing these things. And then guess what? Common sense would tell you, stop doing these things that are making your sleep really, really, really poor. Again, hammer it. You guys know that I have my phone number. If you text me after like 6:30, 7 o'clock, you're not getting a message back very, very seldom, right? We try to ditch that stuff so that way we can get great sleep, our son can get good sleep, and it works really, really well. How do we pick the winners, right? So this is a partner challenge. So when you do your initial InBodies, you're going to get a starting weight, you're going to get a starting body fat mass, and a starting skeletal muscle mass. And then at the end, we look at the difference from where you started and the percentage change, right? So we try to make it a level playing field. That way if somebody maybe had 50 or 100 pounds to lose, a person that only had 10 or 15, it's a percentage of their overall change, right? So we take that into consideration. I tell everybody, if you pick up one thing that makes the next 5, 10, 15 years of your life better, whether you come in first or dead last, again, it's an individual effort thing. Now, we do have great prizes. The top team, 6 months for each person, massage, chiropractic care, and a gift certificate over to NutriShop New Hartford, right? So all really, really great things to help us push with that. Questions, comments, concerns so far? Yes, ma'am. If you don't have a partner, that's great, because I have a young lady that I also know doesn't have a partner. So you guys become best friends.
Tina's supposed to be my partner.
So I have a young lady that already said, John, I have a partner. Her name's Danielle, and I'll link you guys up.
Yeah, that's fine.
A couple things that I've seen that have made men and women very successful when they do this, right? Anne-Marie, who's your partner? You guys came in second or third last time, right? Right. So you've got two young ladies right here that did really, really well. A couple things that can help, right? Text each other. I would say at least daily, maybe towards the end of the night, and say, "Hey, how was your night? Was it a great day? Are you struggling? What's going on? Did you go grocery shopping? Did you do it?" So you have that built-in accountability with the person that you're working with to help you guys stay on track with that. Put the day that you want to do your InBodies on your phone as an appointment. Make it as an appointment with yourself. Hoping is not a plan. Oh, I hope I'll get it on next week. No, you won't. Make it an appointment, right? So make it an appointment with yourself. SMART goals. One of the first or second emails you guys will get will be on SMART goals. I've made a post about it today, right? I would rather see you guys set a weekly goal, right? Hey, each week I want to drop 1 pound, 1.5, 2 pounds. Then look at the 6 weeks and say, okay, at the end of 6 weeks, I want to lose 12 pounds, 15 pounds. I'd rather you break it down into weekly goals, right? So make it specific. Okay, this first week, I would like to drop 1 to 2 pounds. Great. Is it measurable? Yes, I'll use the InBody. Is it attainable? Yes, I can do 1 to 2 pounds. Is it relevant? Yes, it's helping me with that. And do I have a time attached to it? Yes, 1 week. So I'll send you that as a form. And it's a different way for goal setting that makes it a lot more specific, and it works really, really well. So instead of looking and saying, okay, in 6 weeks, which can feel like a long time away, say, okay, in a more pressing, in a short term, I want to knock out 1 or 2 pounds. Because once you start to see some momentum, once you start to see some progress, you'll really start digging in, right? If you say, okay, well, I want to lose 12 pounds, in the first week you only lose 1 or 2, wait a second, you become discouraged. Like, I'm not there yet. So I'm going to challenge you to think the other way and say, okay, I want to set small weekly goals. Maybe it's I want to get to the gym. I want to get to the gym 3 times. I want to go for a run 1 day, and I want to drop X amount of pounds in this first week. Questions, comments, concerns, anything. Danny, what do we got? You gotta give me one question.
Where'd you get your shoes from?
I got these shoes from Nashville, Tennessee.
Aldo.
Jennifer and I went out there, got these shoes, came back with the sun. So I warn you, don't buy shoes like these unless you want to have another son. Go to Nashville. It's a blast. Loved it.
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sodium. Salt intake. I guess. I see on there it has something with your water, your body.
Yep. So on the InBody, it's going to show you your overall water, how much is water. Over the whole entire time that you do these InBodies, that should only fluctuate 2 to 3 pounds up or down. Again, if we're putting in fresh vegetables, they don't have to be fresh, they could be frozen vegetables. Just make sure we're not excessively salting our foods, right? And if we are excessively salting our foods, there's a goal which is called progress, right?
Yes.
Less salt, less, right? We don't necessarily need to hide all the salt out of somebody's house, but maybe positive encouragement, positive reinforcement to maybe put a little bit less salt on there is a good thing. Again, hydration, men and women always ask me and say, John, how much water should I drink? I use the old-fashioned look at your urine, right? Sounds a little funky if you've never heard it, but the color of your urine is a good indicator of your hydration. If it is brown, like Coca-Cola, go to the hospital. It should hopefully be clear to maybe a little bit yellow. The darker it's getting, the more dehydrated we are. Things that can throw that off. Coffee, if you take a multivitamin, can throw that off. So a good indicator of that is usually the middle of the day, towards the end of the day, which where we.
Beets give you a
Beets,
strange supply.
yeah, there's some different things that'll throw it off. So yeah, if you're like, peeing purple. If you didn't have beets, again, go to the hospital. If you had beets, relax for a minute. But by the middle of the day, end of the day, if you're weaning off coffee, if you take your multivitamin early in the morning, okay, by the end of the day, you should basically see where you are. Another thing is obviously headaches, cramps, things along those lines. Usually give us a good indication of where the hydration is. I would, again, as always, alcohol, right? Do you need to abstain from alcohol for 6 weeks? No. Will it massively help you with this? Yes, absolutely. That's another one. This idea of a nightcap. Oh, I gotta have my glass of wine, I gotta have a scotch, I gotta have whatever to go to bed. Bull sugar, only because we have young ears. There's actually a really good study on it that talks about it's quasi-sleep. It's not real sleep, right? Real sleep is when you hit REM sleep. It's good, deep sleep. You're having dreams. You're waking up refreshed. Having a drink or two each night to tell myself, hey, I have to have these to go to bed. Again, that's probably not the best thing. If you're in that, again, I'm not going to say go home and dump everything down the drain, but work on reducing that. You want to get back to, hey, I'm eating really well. I'm following the rhythm of the sun up and the temperature dropping, getting back to basically how our body was built to exist and to thrive, right? Our bodies are meant to do amazing, amazing things. Unfortunately, through poor nutrition, lack of sleep, and lack of exercise, we get in the jam sometimes. But that's okay, right? If we take some active steps to fix that and to go in the right direction, we've seen some really, really massive changes that we've got in the last 2 years. 2 men and women that are over the 100-pound mark. We've got lots over the 50-pound mark. So it all starts up top, right? It all starts up top. If you're like, I could never do that, that must be nice for them. It won't happen, right? You have to absolutely think that you can do it, right? It starts with what you think, because then you start saying it. You say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to exercise more. And then you're saying it, and then that becomes the actual actions. Hey, I am doing it. Holy shit, I'm in the gym. I'm on the InBody. I'm grocery shopping. And then that becomes habit. That's where it's awesome. Where it's no longer force, where you no longer have to think about it. That's when you know you've made a massive change, when it becomes habit instead of chore, right? That's why I said, really, we could call this winter, spring 2020, bad habit breakdown, good habit construction, which is really challenging to do. But it is so, so worth it, right? If in 5, 10 years, if you're saying, hey, man, I'm really, really glad that I took those first couple steps and I've made some good, meaningful progress, awesome. What questions? Anything? Yes, sir.
Can you drink too much protein?
Can you drink too much protein? Yes. Yep. Simple way to avoid that. 1 protein shake a day, I think, is plenty. It's plenty. If you're really hungry and you're jonesing for something and you want something, you have a second protein shake, I'm okay with that. But you would have to really go above and beyond to really get to that threshold. If you want exact numbers, when you look at your InBody, it'll say lean body mass. If you take your lean body mass and multiply that by 0.75 and you turn that into grams, so easy math. If you said 100 pounds of lean body mass, we multiply by 70.75, it'd be like 75 grams. Super simple. You would have to really, really work hard to have too much protein in the diet, especially doing that, because they're like 6 to 8 ounces servings of protein. If I said make the large portion protein and have 5 protein shakes a day, maybe. Any questions? Guys, we will be in contact. Yes, sir, Devin.
If doing 4 trade,
Yep.
should that be planned to have 4 meals or the extra tray spread out across 3 meals?
Great question. Whatever is going to absolutely work out best for you. Because if you say, hey, I love this idea, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'm going to make a custom snack tray. Great. You know, Lexi could say, hey, I'm going to do a lunch and dinner and a snack tray. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as your snacks fall into that those categories, right? So say, okay, bell peppers, I'll make a big bag of bell peppers. That'd be one of my snacks. For my protein, it'll be a Greek yogurt, and maybe for this would be an apple. There you go. Those sound like snacks, not necessarily a meal. And then you've got a breakfast, lunch, and dinner because you're going to go 4 trays, right? So great question. And this is just the framework, right? Again, you're not expected, you know, to carry this around with you every day. Doing the tray method in 2028 and still doing the tray method. No, you use it to say, hey, if I bumped into you somewhere and saw your lunch, you go, oh, look, there's a salad and there's a bunch of protein on it, and I see there's some rice in there. Oh, seems like a pretty close comparison to the tray method, right? It's just a really good tool to help understand and make it simple. Make it simple, adherence to it much higher. High adherence, better results, right? If I said, all right, guys, we all have to do MyFitnessPal and track every single thing you eat, that works. It does work really, really good, but it's a ton of tracking and weighing and measuring. This is, hey, I gotta make sure I got that thing full of green beans. I'm gonna pack some tuna fish in there, and I got some old white rice. Done. It might not be the best, but it fits it. All right, next day, all right, that tastes like shit, so I gotta do a little bit better. And then you make some fresh green beans, you get some ground beef, and you do some different, some sweet potatoes. Anything, guys, I'll answer questions till the cows come home.
Cheese would fit into a protein?
Yes, yep.
And could you put a protein shake into unsweetened almond milk?
I'm okay with that. You just want to watch what you mix it with, watch what the caloric intake is, right? So I think unsweetened almond milk is like 10 calories or 15 calories. Yeah, it's pretty low. And you guys will have emails coming from me. You can reply directly back to those emails. If you're not friends with me on Facebook, you can friend me up on Facebook. You see me here all the time. Ask questions. As you can tell by the way I present, this is the stuff I love talking about. This is stuff I love doing. It's one of my favorite things to do. So don't ever be like, oh, I'm going to ask him this foolish question. No. If you go through 6 weeks and don't ask me the question, and then 6 weeks and 1 day, you're like, hey, what about this? I'm going to say that was a really foolish time to ask the question. Yes, ma'am.
Only question, I forgot. Do you use the Easy Bread in the car?
Yes. Yep.
Slice, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. Thank you.
Next.
Paperwork to join the challenge.
So the best way we do it, guys, is all online, because then you instantly get put into an email for me. So when I send you a video talking about how I want you to make your house 40 degrees, you're on that list, right? It makes it
40.
40. Did I say 40? I meant 30. So if you have not signed up, you can sign up today. I'll share the link. If we're not friends on Facebook, we'll become friends. I can send out an email. I will be happy to help anybody with the InBody now that wants to do one today. Any other questions? All right, my friends. Anybody that wants to do an InBody, we'll get that done.